You see up a Singapore TikTok shop or a couple of creator accounts aimed at the Singapore market, and for a while everything is fine. Then one morning you log in and an account is gone. Then a second one. You didn't break any rules, you didn't spam, you just ran more than one account, and TikTok decided they were all the same person wearing different hats. If that has happened to you, this video is the honest version of why. I run a real cloud phone farm in Singapore. Real physical Android phones on dedicated hardware, each one on its own Singapore mobile carrier IP from Singtel, M1 or StarHub. So this is not a sales pitch dressed up as advice. This is what I actually see when people try to run a stack of Singapore TikTok accounts from somewhere else and what actually keeps those accounts alive. Let me start with the thing most people get wrong. TikTok is not banning your accounts because you have more than one. Plenty of agencies and sellers run many accounts. TikTok bans accounts when it can't tell a clean story about who is behind each one. The moment two accounts look like the same device, the same network, the same person pretending to be two people, that's when the trouble starts. So the question is not how do I hide? The question is how do I make each account look like exactly what it is supposed to be, which is a normal Singapore person on a normal Singapore phone. And the way you answer that question is the whole game. It helps to think about why TikTok cares so much in the first place. TikTok Shop is real money, real sellers, real buyers, and a lot of people have tried to game it with fake accounts, fake reviews, and bot farms. So the platform leans hard on detecting accounts that are secretly run by the same operator. The unfair part is that an honest seller running a few legitimate accounts gets caught in the same net as the bot farms, simply because they took the same lazy shortcuts. The fix is to stop looking like a bot farm. And look like a bot farm is exactly what most cheap setups do. One laptop, one browser, 10 accounts, one VPN, to a person that looks like a busy entrepreneur. To TikTok, it looks like a control panel for fake accounts. The irony is that a real, slightly disorganized person on a real phone is far less suspicious than a perfectly efficient operator running everything from one screen. Efficiency in this game is what gets you flagged. TikTok checks three things together, and it checks whether they agree with each other. The first is location. Where does this account say it is, and where does it actually seem to be? The second is the device. What phone is this? What are its hardware details, its sensors, its quirks? The third is the network, the IP address, and crucially, what kind of IP it is and where it sits. Mobile carrier, home broadband, or a data center. On their own, none of these is the whole story. The danger is in the mismatch. If your account is set to Singapore, but the IP is a data center in another country, but the device is the same phone that already runs three other accounts, TikTok doesn't need to be clever. The signals contradict each other. And a contradiction is the easiest thing in the world for a system to flag. This is where VPNs quietly ruin people. A VPN changes one signal, the IP, and leaves everything else untouched. So now you have a phone in, say, Europe, with a European time zone and European device settings, suddenly appearing on a Singapore IP through a VPN. That is not a Singapore user. That is a European phone wearing a Singapore mask, and the mask only covers one part of the face. Worse, the kind of IP a VPN gives you is almost always a data center IP. Real people on TikTok are not browsing from data centers. They are on their home Wi-Fi or on 4G and 5G from a mobile carrier. A data center IP is a giant sign that says this is not a normal phone, please take a closer look. So a VPN doesn't just fail to help, it actively invites the review you were trying to avoid. Residential proxies are a step better because the IP looks more like a home connection, but you still have the device problem. If all your accounts run on the same phone or through the same browser profile, the IP can look perfect and the accounts still get linked because the device fingerprint is shared. TikTok sees one device holding 5 logins, and that one device is the thread that ties them all together. There is also a subtler problem with proxies and VPNs that people forget about. It is not just where the IP is, it is whether the IP stays steady and behaves like a phone. A real Singapore person on 4G or 5G keeps a stable mobile connection from one carrier. A proxy setup often jumps around. The IP changes mid-session, or many different accounts pour through the same shared exit at once. TikTok notices when an account that is supposed to be one quiet person suddenly looks like it is sharing a network with a crowd of strangers. And the location signal goes deeper than the IP too. The device has a time zone, a system language, a set of regional settings, sometimes a sense of where it is. If the phone says one country and the IP says Singapore, and the account says Singapore, those little disagreements add up. A real Singapore phone has all of those set to Singapore naturally because it genuinely is a Singapore phone. You are not constantly fighting to keep a lie consistent across a dozen settings. The truth keeps itself consistent for free. So here is the shape of the real answer. One consistent story per account. A real Singapore device on a real Singapore mobile IP doing normal Singapore things. Location, device, and network all agreeing. When all three line up, there is nothing to flag because there is nothing wrong. You are not evading detection. You have simply removed the reasons to be detected. This is exactly what a real phone in Singapore gives you. When I run a phone in my farm, it is a physical Android handset sitting in a rack in Singapore with a real SIM from Singtel or M1 or StarHub. Its IP is a genuine mobile carrier IP, the same kind your customers are using. Its sensors, its hardware, its behavior, all of it is a real phone because it is a real phone. There is no emulator anywhere in this. TikTok looks at it and sees an ordinary Singapore user because that is genuinely what it is looking at. Now the single most important rule for running multiple accounts and the one people break the most. One account per phone. One TikTok account. One device kept separate from every other account. Do not log 5 accounts into one phone and switch between them. Do not run your shop account and your creator account on the same handset. The entire point of separation is undone the instant two accounts share a device. Think of it like this. Each phone is a separate person. That person has one TikTok account, one consistent IP, one set of habits. It lives in Singapore. It posts at sensible hours. It scrolls a bit. It behaves like a human with a life. When every account is its own little person on its own phone, there is nothing connecting them for TikTok to pull on. One falling over does not drag the others down with it. The next thing people rush and pay for later is warm-up. A brand new account that immediately starts posting 10 times a day and blasting links looks nothing like a real person. Real people open the app, watch some videos, like a few, follow someone, maybe leave a comment, and only later start posting their own stuff. So a new account should do the same. Spend the first several days just being a normal user. Watch, scroll, engage gently, then ease into posting. For TikTok Shop accounts in particular, be patient. Give the account time to look like a real account before you load it up with products and start pushing sales. The warm-up is not wasted time. It is the difference between an account that TikTok trusts and an account that TikTok is watching from day one. A slow, calm start buys you a long, stable life. Let me run through the common mistakes because they are almost always the same handful. The first is the VPN mismatch we already talked about. A phone that is clearly somewhere else pretending to be in Singapore through a VPN on a data center IP. Region mismatch like that is one of the fastest ways to get an account reviewed and pulled. The second mistake is sharing one device across many accounts. People do it to save money and it costs them everything because it links the accounts together by the one thing that is hardest to fake, the device itself. The third is reusing the same IP for a pile of accounts. Even if each account is on its own device, if they all exit through the same single IP, you have rebuilt the cluster you were trying to avoid. The fourth mistake is behaving like a robot. Posting on a rigid schedule, never scrolling, never engaging, hammering the same actions at the same intervals. Real people are a bit messy and irregular. Accounts that are too perfect, too mechanical, stand out. And the fifth is impatience, skipping the warm-up and going straight for the hard sell on a fresh account. Slow down, and most of these problems simply never happen. Now scaling, because this is what everyone actually wants to do. Once you have the pattern right, scaling is just repeating it cleanly. Each new account gets its own phone, its own Singapore mobile IP, its own warm-up, its own natural rhythm. You are not finding a clever trick that lets one device run 20 accounts. You are running 20 real, separate, consistent accounts, each one boring and legitimate on its own. The beauty of doing it this way is that it does not get more fragile as you grow. Because nothing is shared, there is no single point that brings the whole operation down. One account having a bad day stays one account. The others keep going, because as far as TikTok is concerned, they were never connected in the first place. That is what makes a stack of accounts durable instead of a row of dominoes. A quick note on the maths, because people assume real phones must be the expensive option. When you add up the cost of an account that dies, the products you lose, the followers you built, the time you spent warming it, a banned account is far more expensive than a phone. Cheap setups feel cheaper right up until the morning the accounts vanish. The real cost is not the phone, it is the rebuild. One stable account that keeps running for a year quietly pays for itself many times over. And you can keep your Singapore phones running between sessions instead of constantly logging in and out. A phone in my farm stays on, stays logged in, keeps its history, and keeps the same IP from the same carrier session after session. That continuity matters because an account that lives on the same device on the same network with the same habits week after week is the most ordinary thing in the world to TikTok. Ordinary is exactly what you want to be. If you want to try this without committing to anything, the site has a free 48-hour trial. You can spin up a real Singapore phone on a real Singapore mobile IP, log into an account, feel how it behaves, and see for yourself that TikTok treats it like a normal local user. 48 hours is enough to set up an account, warm it a little, and watch how it sits. The link is in the description. One last honest word before you go. There is no magic setting and no secret toggle that makes multiple accounts safe. The only thing that works is making each account genuinely look like what it claims to be. A real person on a real Singapore phone on a real Singapore network doing normal things at a normal pace. Get that right and the bans mostly stop being a thing you worry about because you have stopped giving TikTok anything to worry about. If this was useful, subscribe because the next video goes deeper on warming a brand new Singapore account properly, day by day the exact rhythm I use so an account is trusted before it ever tries to sell anything. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next